Hey, but Justin Woolley coming in. Well, apparently our treasonous psychopathic scumbag government thinks they can erase the legacy of a true American patriot such as Lavoy Forever by erasing all of his YouTube channel videos except for the one where his family mourns his NDAA-style execution. Well, I've got a word for you, you Council on Foreign Relations scumbag government. No. You will not erase this man's voice. You will not erase this man's passion. You will not erase this man's patriotism. You will not erase this man's heroism, as I have saved it all. Know the man our government murdered in broad daylight. Better yet, this man will live on in the hearts, minds, and hard drives and YouTube channels of every American with a social media network, because linked in this video's description box is this page with a direct full HD download tab upon which you can put this directly to your hard drive. Re-upload it to your channel and share it with your friends, family, neighbors, co-workers, and associates, because Lavoy Forever was, and is, and forever will be, a true American patriot.
Hello everyone, this is Lavoy Forever, One Cowboy Stand for Freedom. And I promised that I'd make more videos when things progress between me and the federal government, the BLM in particular, and they have. And before I get into the particulars, I want to say a few things. It's kind of easy for people to see what I'm standing against, but maybe not quite so easy to see what I'm standing for. What I'm standing for is I'm standing for freedom. I'm standing for the liberty for the individual American. I want my children to grow up in a free country. We've lost our freedoms. We've lost our Constitution. The federal government is enmeshed and entwined in almost every aspect of our life. You can see that in Obamacare and thousands of other things. And so when the federal government begins to refuse to be confined by the laws of the land, by the supreme law of the land, our Constitution, it's up to our politicians and the courts to check it, but they haven't. They're actually part of the problem. They've continued to grow the power and draw power into a central government, and when a central government begins to overreach its bounds, then the states, the individual states, are supposed to stand up and check the federal government, and they haven't. And so what happens when these balances of power, these checks in our government, are no longer working? The last remedy for freedom rests in the individual Americans. The individual American has to stand up for liberty. They need to understand the Constitution. They need to understand what liberty is, what freedom is. And so here we are. We're at that point. We're at the point where the federal government has said to the West that we own and control your land. As I said earlier, the federal government is laying claim to 1/3 of the landmass of the United States. Now, I ranch here in Mojave County. Mojave County is about the 4th largest county in all of the United States. Millions of acres. I actually have to drive through 2 different states and around the Grand Canyon to get to our county seat. It's 300 miles from my doorstep to the doorstep of the county buildings at our county seat in the city of Kingman. Well, this Mojave County is 98% controlled by the BLM. They say we own and control 98% of the landmass of Mojave County. Now, you need to understand, as I've said before, why this is so bad. They consolidate all 3 branches of power. The BLM, the federal government has said, has exclusive legislative power over these lands. And so a bureaucrat behind the desk will write a statute. And then they enforce it by federal rangers, armed and authorized to use force, lethal force if necessary. You get contrary with them, you're hauled into a federal court. Now, none of these bureaucrats do we elect here in Mojave County. None of them are accountable to us in Mojave County. They are not subject to the power of recall. This is the definition of tyranny. You say, well, is it really that bad? Well, let me just show you an example. Over here where my daughter goes to school is the town of Fredonia. Fredonia used to be an up-and-coming town. It had a vibrant logging industry. Ran 2 shifts, morning shift and swing shift. I worked at the sawmill there for a little while. They shipped lumber all over the country. And they also had an oil refinery. That little town had an oil refinery. And then they had a vibrant mining industry, an exploratory industry. Well, what has happened? Well, they've clamped down on the lumber industry. The Kaibab industry went out of business, folded. There's a little family that has a little lumber operation where they lumber just a few board, a little bit of board feet compared to what Kaibab the industry did. It's just a very, very small operation. So that lumber industry is gone. All the people that are employed in those 2 different shifts in that big company, they're all gone. People came from all down from Utah, from Kanab, working in that, besides the people in Fredonia. Well, what happened to the oil refinery? Well, EPA, shut it down. It's gone. It doesn't exist. What happened to the mining industry? Well, they shut it down. Ken Salazar, no more mining here on the Arizona Strip. When the last 2 little mines are played out, it's done. So what's happened? All of our industries left this little town. That leaves the people there. They either have to leave the community to go find work, or they have to try to stay alive some other way. And a lot of times that's by receiving some government welfare, some government subsidies, some help. And what happens to the individual when that happens? When a man's out there busting his butt on a drill rig or out in the timber logging and working hard every day, sweat of his brow, bringing home the bacon to his family, or he's out there in the mine or working his ranch, that builds the individual, builds his character, and he has self-esteem and self-worth, and the community reflects it. And so now the government shuts it down. They say, the federal government says, no, that's ours. That lumber's ours. That mineral's ours. That grazing is ours. It's ours. And we're shutting it down. But here's some welfare. You can have that. And so in that way, they destroy the fabric, the character of our citizens, of our nation. And so it is oppressive. Go down here to our county seat, the city of Kingman. Drive up and down the main streets there. Look at how many stores are boarded up. You tell me the Mojave County is thriving. It is not thriving because the federal government they claim ownership of 98% of Mojave County. We're subjects to the federal government. We have no representation. There's no election to these people that rule over us. So it is wrong. This is, again, the definition of tyranny.
You have a big apparatus that just arrests people on a spot. Sometimes kill them, torture them, throw them in jail. No lawyers, no trials. That terrorizes people. People go, you step out of line, they're going to grab me, I'll never be seen again. That's a police state.